17 years ago today, well, it's more like 18 actually, we had an idea to found the first electronic school in the country. But the idea wasn't mine. I had a stepdaughter who was chronically ill, such that she couldn't attend regular school. The parochial schools couldn't handle her. The private schools couldn't. And every time I sought help, I was rejected at a time prior to homeschooling. And every time I tried to seek help, she was turned down. When I begged for school books to teach her, the answer was no. When she was in the hospital at least once a week, the response was truancy. She was not chronically truant. She was chronically ill and would succumb to that illness. There was no ECOT at that time, and I got angry and upset, and a bunch of us went to work to create this dream and make it what it is today. You are the manifestation of that dream, and the dream for thousands and thousands and thousands of students and family across Ohio, and the 5 million students all over the country that go to online schools. But I'm humbled by another fact, another person I want to talk about. Coanne Michael. Coanne is my favorite student from ECOT. Back when we were 2 or 3 years old, a good 15 years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer. And she struggled and fought and made it her goal that the one thing she could achieve that she couldn't do in public school was to get a diploma. And she did. And the dozen of us that went to the funeral and saw the diploma on the casket, and parents saying, she lived for something. All of our children live for something. I traveled about Ohio in those early days, the first year of ECOT, and I met over 10,000 families that told me the same thing. Help me. Help my child. There is not a family in Ohio who does not have a child, who does not have a stepchild, a neighbor, a friend of a neighbor, or family member who isn't crying for an education and wants it other than a traditional public school. That's what ECOT is. That's what ECOT always will be. People asked me just a few minutes ago, John McKenna asked me, what is the favorite book that you've ever read? And it came to mind immediately. It was Alvin Toffler's book, Future Shock, in 1970. 50 years ago, he talked about the rapid acceleration of technology in our lives. How by the time the 20th century would end, it would be at a dizzying pace. He talked about education. And he mentioned in the book that by the year 2000, all children will go to school from their bedrooms on computers. And yet here we are 17 years later from 2000, trying to explain to the traditional 1850s school board that's the way our kids want it. But he was wrong about something. What he didn't foresee was subsequent to ECOT, by many, many years, let me tell you what didn't exist. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, messaging. The smartphone was 8 years after us. George Bush, who said no one size should fit all students, was 5 years after we started. And yet we're still struggling to bring this state into the 21st century. It makes me angry again. Before I leave, I would like to take any one of you who has an iPhone and raise it above your head. Take a minute. And keep it raised. How many of you think a student would rather go to a classroom for an education or would rather learn on that device? With over 5 million apps available on the smartphones, no two phones on the planet are alike. No two students are alike. Isn't it time we get that message, and get it now? They keep telling us no. And we know when the world says no, ECOT says yes! Thank you very much. I love all of you, and I wish I could shake hands with all of you. Thank you for coming out.